I want to say they just my wife here.
You on mute.
Take it easy. What?
Your supervisor on here.
What's on that? You just unmuted us.
Hi, good afternoon, everybody. We're going to get started here in just a moment. I'm going to give everybody a second to get in. Thank you all.
Good morning, all. Good afternoon. Can you hear me?
Yeah. So everybody, when you're coming in, we've got 150 people. So if you'll mute yourselves when you come in, I am going to allow people to unmute themselves if they want to talk, but just in the interest of us kind of keeping the chaos down a little bit, if everybody could just mute themselves when they come in. I'm going to give everyone just a couple more minutes to get in. Okay, we're going to get started. Good afternoon, everybody. Really quickly, just before we get into it, I want to do just a quick sound check. If you can hear me, those of you that are on video, if you could just give me a thumbs up if you can hear me okay. All right, awesome. One other thing, are y'all able to see the PowerPoint presentation okay? All right, fantastic, fantastic. Thank you. Good afternoon, everybody. Yeah, I think we're about 6 minutes into the afternoon part of the day. So good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to our first virtual town hall in our round 4 series of our town hall meetings. Just a couple of things as you're coming in, if you don't mind muting yourself. We've got a good bit of people.
Monday, I think.
A bunch of people, and I apologize, there are sirens behind me. Give them just a minute. But as you come in, if you will mute yourself, we've got 173 people in here, which is fantastic. Thank you all for being here. And I'm going to give you opportunities to speak, and you can unmute yourself when you're speaking. But then if you're not speaking, if you will just keep yourself muted, just so we can kind of cut down on the background noise. We've still got some more folks that are coming in. Tiny, if you can just keep a look on the waiting room and then just admit people as they join the waiting room, if you'll do that for me, I appreciate it. Okay, so welcome everybody. My name is Chad Allgood. Most of you are probably somewhat familiar with me, either either you've joined us for one of our town hall meetings or for one of our info sessions, or you've seen my name in an email or something. So I'm the director of the Division of Early Childhood Care and Development. We are with the Mississippi Department of Human Services. We are the agency that administers the Child Care Development Fund program, which includes the subsidy program, also known as the Child Care Payment Program. And then, of course, we do a lot of the quality improvement activities, training, on-site coaching, the resource and referral network that's across the state, just to name a few of the things that we're doing. So what we're going to be doing today is, I don't know how many of you have had an opportunity to join us for previous town hall meetings. I'm going to take a poll here in just a second, just to see who has joined us before. So what I want to do, just to kind of give me an idea of where we might, what kind of information I might need to share. I'm going to launch a poll, and it should have popped up for you. So just asking a question, how many of you are familiar with the quality support system? Just to give me an idea of who has had an opportunity to join us before, who has not, just to give me an idea of kind of how to structure the rest of the meeting. So I'm going to give everyone just a couple of minutes to fill that out.
I got a feeling Joe worked right on the elevator.
All right, y'all double check when you come in, make sure that you mute yourself, okay? Just so we cut down on background noise. I'm going to give everyone a few more minutes to do the poll. All right, looks like answers are slowing down. Okay, so I'm going to end the poll and share the results. So what it looks like, we had about 131 of you that put in an answer. So it looks fairly evenly distributed. 30% of you said you're not familiar at all. Some of you, 38% said slightly familiar, 24% moderately familiar, and then about 8% said you're extremely familiar. So I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time talking. We're going to focus mostly on what year 2 of the quality support system is going to look like. But I will answer, questions as we go through. So just to kind of give you all a little bit of a background of how we kind of got to where we are today, some of those of you that are not really familiar with the quality support system. Back during the pandemic, we started holding these town hall meetings for you all, just as an opportunity to check in, to give you information, to share information, get feedback from you all about how things were going. And then we started to ask questions about the services that we offered, including how we support you all in improving quality in your programs. Those of you that have been around for a while, you may have been familiar with the previous quality rating improvement system, which was called the Quality Stars program. That program was in place up until 2016, December of 2016. And then after Quality Stars then the state used what was called the Standard Center designation, which was a self-evaluation that you all could use to evaluate your program. And the system may flag you for additional assistance, possibly not. So in the process of us kind of checking in with you and asking you how all of the quality programming was going, we found out that for most of you all, that the Standard Center designation was not really assisting you much at all in that process. And so we realized that we needed to start looking at going in a different direction. And so we started talking with you all with town hall meetings about what a replacement to the Standard Center designation might look like, how we can better support you. And so that led us to the creation of the quality support system. And previously I had done the town hall meetings and talked to you all about what the model for the quality support system might look like. Last year we did a series where we specifically focused on year one. I'm going to give you a brief overview of what year one, which we are now in year one, is going to be, it will look like as we continue forward. But we're going to spend the bulk of today talking about year two. One of the things that I want to point out is that the year one part is in place. We are starting the year one rollout of the QSS. Year two, nothing that I'm going to present that is in year two has been decided on. The whole purpose of these meetings is for me to show you all what we are proposing to do with year two, and then give you all the opportunity to give us feedback on what you like about the prospective plans, what you don't like, if you've got suggestions that we need to take into consideration as we continue to make plans for year two. So when we were designing the QSS, we really wanted to take a look at what we wanted for children, for parents, for you all, child care providers, and then what we wanted for the state as far as what this system was going to do. So the first thing, of course, was to look at what we wanted the system to do for children. We wanted the system to put in place high quality care and education standards to help you all provide the best possible care and education for the children that are enrolled in your programs. You know, it's very important that we are giving them care and education that is setting them up for success as they move forward. You know, the thing to keep in mind is no two children learn the same way. Different children have unique needs. And we needed to put in place a system that was going to be adaptive to what those needs are of those individual children, and also give children learning opportunities that are exciting and fun. We all know that for young children to actually learn, we have to create interesting learning experiences, things that are going to spark their interest, things that give them the opportunity to play and explore, and they're learning while they're doing these things. Also, you know, we don't want to lose that essence of early childhood, which is learning through play. It's a key foundation of early childhood education. So then what do we want for parents with this system? We wanted parents to be able to search for a child care program that would meet their needs, but also might help them identify other things that they might need that they hadn't even thought of. What are some of the other things that child care programs can offer that parents may not be aware of that are out there? And then have a system in place that allows you all to really showcase what are those special, unique things that you can offer to parents. Because just as no two children learn alike, there are differences between child care programs. And whereas some people might see that as a weakness, I see as a strength of this education field. Being able to be adaptive to the needs of the children and your respective communities really does nothing but help support the whole premise of meeting children where they are developmentally and helping them continue to develop, and again, setting them up for success. So we wanted to create a system where there was no just one way for you all to advance through the system or be recognized for what you do. We didn't want a one-size-fits all approach. We wanted to create a system that was also adaptive. So that leads me to what we want this system to do for you all. So we want you all to be able to improve the quality of your programs in a way that's doable. And that's also why we are rolling this out over a 3-year process. We are not throwing everything at you all at once. And as we're as we take steps at developing this system, we're taking time to check in with you to make sure that we're listening and that we're being responsive to what you're telling us that your needs are. So we want it to be doable. We also want it to be adaptive. You're going to see today that when we start looking at year 2 plans, we're not going to just offer you one pathway to earning the badges. And I'll get more on what badges mean here in just a little bit. Well, we're not just going to give you one pathway. We're not going to give you just two pathways. We're actually going to give you three pathways. This is what we're proposing that you can use to earn those badges. Again, giving you more than one way to be able to showcase what you do. We want the system to balance support. We do feel that when we put quality standards in place, that on our side, we need to be doing our part to ensure that you're supported in meeting those standards. But you all were very clear that you wanted there to be a level of accountability. You wanted there to be a level of accountability, not necessarily just to your parents and the children that you serve, but also each other. You were very clear about that, ways that you can all hold each other accountable for the work that you do with children and their families. And then also, as I said, having options, so having multiple pathways to achieve quality. And then ultimately, what do we want for the state? First of all, we want Mississippi to be a leader in early childhood education. I don't know about y'all, but I'm tired of Mississippi always being at the bottom of the ladder with everything. There are things that our state may not get right, but there are some things that we do very well. And one of the things that we have in this state is we have early childhood practitioners, directors, and teachers that care deeply about the children that are in their programs and care deeply about the families that are in their program. One of the things that we really do have in Mississippi is a sense of community. And I think that it's important that we really, show value in that. And those are core concepts of early childhood education also. And so with this system, making sure that we don't lose those strengths that we have. We also want the system to provide families with choices for high quality care, but to do so in a way that's easily understandable. So when parents are trying to find a child care program, an early childhood program for their child, that we provide a way for them to find something that meets their needs in a manner that is easily understandable. So it's not so complicated that they're like, wait, what does this mean? And I'll talk more about that when we get to the individual badges. So as we continue this work, I said, this is a 3-year process. We are in year 1. We're making plans for year 2. Year 2 will not start until October 1st of next year. We're following the federal year, the federal fiscal year is what we say. But as we continue to do this work, and even beyond the 3-year rollout period, we are dedicated to doing this in collaboration with you and in collaboration with the families that we serve. So what does that mean? Ultimately, what that means is we're not working behind closed doors, creating all these plans and then saying, okay, y'all got to do this. So what we're doing is, we went to you all and we said, okay, what are some things that you want in this new system? We took those ideas, we went to the drawing board, so to speak. We created a model of a system and we kind of laid out this system. But before we actually implement anything, we're coming back and we're checking with you first. And we want you all to have a true voice in the design of this system. So this is our feedback process that we have been using and we will continue to use. The first part of it is, of course, gathering input. So through the town halls, through surveys, y'all send me emails, phone calls, whatever, getting input on what's working, what's not working. Then we take that information that y'all give us and we interpret it. We say, okay, this is what we think y'all are telling us that you want. So as we interpret that, we kind of we create a plan. But before we implement any of that, as we're developing these plans, we're also checking in with you, which is what we're doing today. We're saying, okay, these are the prospective plans that we are making. Did we get it right? And then after we checked in with y'all and y'all have told us, yes, you got it right, or maybe you didn't think about this, then and only then do we actually start to take action and start to implement some of the things that we've developed. And then as we take action and as we put these things in place, we will share results with y'all about how things are going. And then we'll start back over. So as we are going into year 2, right now we're in the development and check-in phase of year 2. We're going to check in with y'all, get some input on our prospective plans before we put anything into place. And then but we're also gearing up for year 3, which will be gathering more information. So this is a cycle that continues, and we're not going to stop this after year 3 of the QSS rollout. We're going to continue to do this as we move forward, because we want to continue to give you all a voice in all of the plans, the processes, the things that we're doing. So when we surveyed y'all about kind of what we were proposing with the QSS, these were some of the concerns that we saw at the town halls and then in the surveys. Helping staff feel prepared and confident to care for and teach children. Staff having the inability to feel comfortable while being observed. So, we acknowledge that when there are observers in your classroom, that it's an uncomfortable situation. I used to be a director, and I remember, when my licensing official was on site, I was a nervous wreck. That's probably kind of why I'm bald today, in some regards, just because, one day I actually had my licensing official, the fire marshal, and the city inspector all on site at the same time. So I can understand that when you got someone in your program and they're taking a look at things, it is a little bit nerve-wracking. There has to be a level of observation, obviously, but we really looked at how we could mitigate that, mitigate the teachers feeling so uncomfortable that it was a bad experience. Will it always be a little bit stressful when someone's in the program observing? Absolutely. But there are things that we can do and things that we will do to try to make that whole process not so difficult, not so nerve-wracking. High turnover with teachers is also a big thing. So with this system, if we observe a classroom and then you lose that teacher in the classroom, we're not going to take away your badge. We're going to allow you to keep it. Now, we may offer technical assistance to new teachers that you may put in the classroom, but we're not going to take your badge away just because you have turnover. Otherwise, we'd be awarding badges all the time because turnover is so high in early childhood education. It's new to us. We're willing to give it a try. Appreciate that. Caregivers being able to receive scores in TA. So I'm going to talk a little bit more about the scoring system and how that's going to work here in a few minutes. The person doing the observation, what type of training do they have? As we brought observers on board, we are doing everything that we can to make sure that they are highly trained, not just on the assessment, the assessment tool itself, but also just in what childcare and early childhood education looks like in Mississippi. CLASS is a very comprehensive tool that requires a lot of training in TA to process, understand, and implement. That is true. CLASS, which is the tool that we will be using for year 1, solely for year 1. And if you haven't had an opportunity to, I do advise that you go to our information sharing session page. There's a town hall that's recorded that lays out what CLASS is in more detail. I'm not going to have time to do that today because we are moving into year 2, but I do advise that you do that. Something else that we have done regarding the CLASS tool. So any of you that are directors or owners on this video, I think it was back in September. I'm not exactly sure the exact date, but we sent out an email. It came from our CC notices at mdhs.ms.gov. If you are a child care director, we actually purchased a license for you to take the CLASS Primer course. So make sure you check your email. It's at CC notices at mdhs.ms.gov. There was a link from that email. It came back in, I believe it was early September, from that email address, and it gave you a link and instructions for logging in to take the CLASS Primer. Now, what that CLASS Primer does for you is it gives you a good overview about what CLASS is, and then how you as a director of your program, what it will do for you, and ultimately what CLASS is. So if you have not logged in to take that course, I strongly suggest you do so. If you cannot find the email, what you need to do is you need to send an email to ccnotices@mdhs.ms.gov. Tiny, can you put that in the chat for everybody? You can also call our call center. But if you didn't receive the email, or if you can't find the email, just send an email to the CC Notices email address that Tiny's putting in the chat, or you can call our call center and we'll get you the link to that course. So that's a good first step. We are also providing training on the basics of class, and we're working on getting as much of that training out there as we possibly can. If you go to the LiftEd website, which we've sent emails out about that, you can go in there to register for those classes as well. And then my concern is not having to train workforce. Of course, that's of course, and I'm always a concern. These were just some of the responses on the last survey about the proposed year one. For the most part, folks, it felt like we were on the right pathway with class. Class, actually, it's an acronym, the CLASS. It stands for Classroom Assessment Scoring System. And the class tool, what it does is it focuses on teacher-child interaction. Well, I'll come back to that. So it focuses on teacher-child interaction, which we are establishing as the foundation for the class. So Tiny, I think you sent that. Did you send that to everybody? I think you sent it to me. Okay, yeah, just make sure you send it to everybody in the chat. So it does focus on teacher-child interaction, and I'm going to talk more about that in just a few minutes. This is just the schedule of the town hall meetings. We're doing a series of these. I did a couple of these face-to-face. The remaining ones are going to be virtual. Today we're doing the November 6th. That's today. Or excuse me. Well, I'm sorry. That should be 12 to 2. Because that's what time it is right now. But if you know any providers that missed today, we're doing another town hall tomorrow night, or excuse me, tomorrow night from 6 to 8, and it will be virtual as well. Now, if you attend the one today, you don't have to attend the one tomorrow. It's going to be the same thing. But if you know anybody that was unable to make today, they can come tomorrow. And then we're going to be doing 2 for families. We're going to be doing one on November 12th, which is next week, and then one on the 13th. So the one on the 12th will be from 6 to 8 p.m. and then the one on the 13th will be from 11 to 1. So a daytime and an evening town hall. So as we were just determining what this whole quality support system was going to look like, how we were going to really recognize quality, again, we talked to you all about what you felt was most important, and overwhelmingly you all said that it was in fact the relationships between the teachers and the children in the classroom that was the most important. So that's the foundation. So here you see at the very base of the pyramid, the educational interaction badge, which is the first badge. And it is using the class assessment tool. And then building on from that teacher-child interaction, we go up to the fundamental level, which is what are the specific needs of children across the age spectrum? Because infants have specific needs, toddlers have specific needs, preschool, school age, and then children that have special needs. So what are the developmental components that we really need to be taking into consideration as children get older? And what are you all doing in your programs to meet those developmental needs? And then how can we support you all in that? And then at the top of the pyramid, kind of the icing on the cake, so to speak, is then what are some of the specialized services that you all offer? So year 1 is the educational interaction badge. That's where we are now. Year 2, we will roll out the fundamental badges, which I'm going to talk more, I'm going to spend most of today talking about. And then in year 3, we're talking about rolling out these specialization badges, which are in fact kind of those even more specialized services that you all offer. So I'm going to pause here before I get into the educational interaction badge. Do I have any questions about the overall QSS process before I move in? You can unmute yourself, ask your question, and then and like I said, or if you put your question in the chat, I'm trying to monitor chat as much as I can. So I see a question about, are you communicating with parents about these sessions? Yes, we did send out notices to all the parents about the town hall meetings. So yes, we did.
Chad, this is Dolores. So will the evaluation take into consideration the children with disabilities? And if so, how will we be able to deal with it? We're having a lot of kids that are coming now with autism, and we're trying to figure out how to interact with those kids because many times it's so difficult to understand. And I know it would, I'm thinking it would have to be a part of it, but I'm wondering exactly how can we get there, or what assistance can we get from you all beforehand to learn how to deal with these disabilities.
So Ms. Sewell, yes. So we do have a badge that we're proposing with the fundamentals that is specifically for working with children who have special needs. I'm going to talk more about what that is. We do have the Mississippi Early Childhood Inclusion Center, which is Dr. Alicia Westbrook and her folks. They offer training and on-site coaching specifically on working with children that have special needs. If you have not reached out to them, that I would recommend that being your first step. If you're not really sure how to do that, I know there's other coaches, you have the resource and referral folks. If you want to shoot an email, to the CC Notices email, we'll get you in touch with somebody from the Early Childhood Inclusion Center. But yes, we are taking that into account and providing training and coaching on working with children who have special needs. Yeah. Any other questions before I move into?
Chad, I have one. This is Marnisha Kathy with West Point Preschool. And as you're talking about this input that was given to for year one, I've tried to be a part of different conversations, and I'm confused as to when those conversations happened. And is there a document that we can look at to see what was discussed about formulating year one?
Yeah, so there was an entire series of town hall meetings. I did it a year ago. We advertised it to providers. It was done in the same way. There was, I believe, 3 face-to-face meetings, and then we did the virtual meetings just like we did that. Prior to that, we had town hall meetings where we just were gathering feedback. But the actual rollout of year one was done with a full town hall meeting. If you go to our information sharing session page, you can actually watch that recording of that town hall meeting. And then we also sent out surveys where we received feedback. We do have a report that kind of reports out, and that's where I pulled some of the screenshots from before that give some of the responses that we received. So we can, I believe we emailed out that report. And I believe that it also came from the CC Notices email. I'm not sure if it's posted on our website or not, but I'll find out for sure if the report is. Any other questions before I move on?
Yes, I have a question. Can you tell me what's the difference between this program and the Quality 5-Star program that you all tried to implement years ago?
So I really can't get into a lot of that. I did that with the year one rollout because I need to focus on the year two part of it. The Quality Stars program used the environment rating scales. This uses a different scale that doesn't focus on the environment. It focuses on the interaction between teachers and children. This system also will not award a single star rating or a single score. This system will use a multiple badging system, which I'm going to get into, that kind of breaks down the different components of the early childhood program. So instead of rolling everything all into one score or one rating, you will actually have the opportunity to earn multiple badges that show off that allow you to kind of showcase the specific components of your program. Starting with the educational interaction component, and then again, year two, which I'm going to be talking about, we'll get into the individual age group badges and the children that have special needs badges. And then I'll kind of talk a little bit about what year 3 might look like. So any other questions? Okay, so getting into, I'm just going to quickly give you a recap about what the first badge will look like. So the first step, this will be a 3-step, 3-year rollout process. The first step is earning your educational interaction badge. So what will happen? We will be opening up registration for this soon. You will receive an email from our office that will give you instructions for going into the registration portal and registering to get your observation. So what will happen is when you go to register, you'll be able to choose one of 2 options. You can either choose to receive technical assistance before we do your observation, or you can choose to go straight to your observation. That's completely up to you. If you opt into TA, we will send coaches to your program to work with you on getting you prepared for the observation. Like I said, there's the class primer that's out there for you all. We're also going to be sending you all the dimensions guides, which kind of roll out more specifically for each of the age groups. What's the criteria that we're going to be looking at when we do the observation. So then when you do get your observation, there is a requirement to meet a threshold score of a 3, and that's a composite score, which means across your infants, toddlers, and pre-K, we will do the observation, the class observation for each of those age groups, and then you just have to earn a score of a 3 to earn the first badge. So let me make sure that I point this out. Even though we require you to meet a threshold score of a 3, nowhere will your individual scores be posted anywhere publicly. Either you will earn the first badge or you will not. So a program that, as long as you're meeting the score of a 3, you earn the badge. And there's not a badge with a score of a 3, or no parents are not going to see a badge with a score of a 5 or anything like that. They'll just see the badge or they won't. If you are participating in subsidy, then the participation in the QSS, which we're calling Elevate, is mandatory. And I'm giving everyone until September 30th of 2025. So I'm giving you until September 30th of next year to get that first badge. That's to enroll in Elevate. You'll be able to receive your TA, receive your observation, your class observation, and award that first badge. And that's as far as you have to go to continue to participate in subsidy. So if you want to continuing to get your child care certificates, earn the first badge, and you don't have to go any further if you don't want to. So you meet the threshold score. If you meet the threshold score, then you'll earn the badge. If you don't, we will give you one more opportunity. Now, if you don't fail the first or if you fail to meet the composite score the first time that you're observed, we will give you a second chance. Now, before we do a second observation, we will require you to receive TA. We will require that you receive up to 30 hours of classroom TA and some leadership TA. So what will happen is if you fail to meet the composite score, a coach will come out and will discuss with you what the results of the observation were, and they will discuss a plan of action with the director, and the coach will work with the director to develop the process, or to develop the plan of action before we do your second observation. So we will give you a second option. If you do not meet the composite score, if you do not meet the composite score the second time, then we will place your program on temporary suspension from the certificate program for 6 months. And then we'll give you an opportunity to do it again. So I will say this, the composite score of 3, I have talked with other states that use the class. I've talked with many other people. A composite score of 3 is not, have been told, is not difficult to achieve. And again, that's across the entire age spectrum. Okay, so the maximum score is a score of 7. And so what we do is we're just taking the average across the different age groups. Let's see and go through some of the, I am getting some more questions. Will we get a transcript of this meeting? We're not, this meeting is being recorded, and the recording of the meeting will be posted online. So you can go back and you can review the video. If you don't get a score of 3, I did answer that question. Who's doing the coaching? So we have coaches that work through the Resource and Referral Network. They're doing the coaching. We also have people that are from the Early Childhood Inclusion Center. So if you have children that have special needs, they can provide coaching. We will have people from licensing. So if one of your issues is you're struggling to meet licensing standards, they'll be providing TA to you as well. So the goal is to kind of create a holistic team that can assist you in whatever area you're receiving. Will we receive manuals for the program? So we are sending out the dimensions guides, and those are free of charge. And that's across all the age groups that are included in class. Is there a monetary component with the badges? I'm going to get to that in just a little bit. Does the scale come from ITERs and ECHRs? No, it is not similar to the infant toddler environment rating scale or the early childhood environment rating scale. Those scales look specifically at the environment. This specifically looks at what the teacher is doing, not what the classroom looks like. There is a component of the learning environment, but it's really just from the perspective of is the classroom set up in a way that allows children to explore and learn, and is the classroom set up in a way that allows the teachers to interact with the children? Will centers be reimbursed for those 6 months if they don't get the minimum score of 3? No, when you are temporarily suspended from the program, you will not receive subsidy payments. If your pre-K is in a collaborative, will they go through the class twice, or can you get those scores from MDE? If you are participating in the collaborative program, we will accept your class scores for your pre-K classroom. The pre-K collaboratives are not working with infant and toddler classrooms, so we will still have to observe you in classrooms other than your pre-K classroom, but we won't make you do the pre-K again if you receive the pre-K class through the pre-K collaborative program. Okay, so with your educational interaction badge, you earn the threshold score of a 3, and you will earn that first badge. When you earn the badge, it's good for 2 years. You will be able to keep the badge for 2 years before we come up. And then after the 2 years, we will do another assessment. We probably will just do like a TA check-in with you after the first year, just to see if there's any issues going on, if there's anything that you need assistance with, because the whole point here is that continued support that we're offering you. So Nancy, I would suggest you, if you say that you've signed up for TA many times, just shoot me an email, and then I'll route that to my training supervisors and get someone to get you a response as far as TA, to get your TA out there. Let's see.
So,
What
Mr. Good, I have a question.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
It's concerning, I'm actually class reliable. And
Okay.
so my question is, with the domains, when you say a composite score, so we have 3 different domains of emotional support, classroom organization, and instructional support. Are we talking about a 3 as a composite score of all 3 of those domains, or are we talking about a 3 in each one of those domains, in each one of those areas? Because in actuality, instructional support, it's kind of hard. It's like a nationwide thing to try to get a 3 in instructional support. That's not one of our highest in Mississippi or really across the nation. So my question is, when it comes to that composite score of 3, are we talking about in each domain, or are we talking about in one specific area?
No, we're talking about your overall class score. So it's the average across all the domains, and it's not just like it's not just all the domains of infant, not all the domains of toddler, not all the domains of pre-K. We will score, so whatever your score is, like if you care for infants, toddlers, and preschool, we will take your overall score for all three of those age groups, and that it will be the average score across all the entire domain, not the individual dimensions or individual domains. What is your overall score for that
So
age?
I guess what I'm asking is when you get your overall score. So if I'm observing for pre-K and I get like say a 6 in class in emotional support, a 5 in classroom organization, and a 2 in instructional support in our pre-K, you would average that score and then average those scores in each one of your classrooms, your infant, your toddler, and your preschool in order to get whatever your composite score would be.
Yes, so we would average whatever your score is on each of the domains to get your
Okay.
composite score across for that entire age group. Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay.
Can I ask
Yes.
a question? This is Lisa at
Sure.
Fun.
Sure. Hey,
So
Lisa. Sure.
How many classrooms of an age group will be observed?
We'll observe 50% of your age group, of each age group. So if you've
Right.
got, more than one infant classroom, we'll observe 50% of your infant classrooms, 50% of your toddler, 50% of your pre-K. Now that will be decided at random. Now, all of your classrooms will receive TA, but as far as like which classroom
There,
we observe, that will be at random. Yes.
so there's enough TA available for all 19 classrooms.
We hope so. I may have to, do a bake sale just to hire some more people to accommodate larger centers, like yours. But, yes, we want to make sure that we provide you full support before we do the observation.
Thank you.
Okay, let's see, the end goal of centers and families. I'd covered that earlier in the program. Ultimately, this is about building quality in early childhood across the board. Is this program becoming mandatory or just suggested? So to receive federal funding, we are required to have quality improvement activities in place, and we are required to provide a way for families to be able to find high quality care and education. I'm getting some questions about, I'm getting some more questions about class. In the interest of time, y'all, I really do have to move on. I do suggest I go much more in depth with the class on the previous town hall, and there is the recording up. Tiny, can you find that? Can you find the link to the info sessions and put it in the chat for everybody, please? So if you have more questions specifically about class, go back and watch that town hall. Also take that primer class. That's why we purchased it for everybody, because it goes very in depth with what the class criteria is. So make sure you go back and see if you can't find that email. Okay, so year 2, getting ready to roll out the fundamental badges. When we're looking at the fundamental badges, what we're talking about is looking, so now that we've looked at teacher-child interaction in year 1, how do we look specifically at making sure that your program is meeting the needs of children across the age spectrum? Now, if you want to stop after you've earned that first badge, that's your prerogative. We are not requiring that to continue to participate in subsidy, we are not requiring that you go beyond that the first badge. But if you want to go further on and you want to earn your fundamental badges, we are giving you not 1, not 2, but 3 options for doing that. Now, again, everything that I'm proposing from here on out, none of this is set in stone. Okay, I am showing you all this to get your feedback, to find out if you like it, if you don't like it, if you do have some other suggestions. Now, let me say this. I do not listen to complaining for complaining's sake. Okay. The whole name of this game is in fact collaboration. So if there's something that you don't really like that I'm proposing today, that's fine. You can absolutely say, I'm not really a big fan of this. I'm not really sure how this is going to go. But like I used to tell my teachers when I was a director, if you come to me with a complaint, I also ask that you come with a solution. Not to say that you have to have the solution today. And you can certainly voice that you have some hesitation about what, we are showing you here today. But I do ask that you keep an open mind and give me some alternatives. If you don't like this, then, you know, what are some other options that you can think of that might, you know, be better suited to help support you all in terms of quality improvement. Okay, so what we're looking at is as we roll out the fundamental badges, and the fundamental badges, there will be an infant badge, a toddler badge, a preschool badge, a school age before and after care, and a school age summer program badge, and then finally a children with special needs badge. So those are the badges that we're talking about, and we've set forth some criteria that are specific to those age groups. So when you're looking at earning those fundamental badges, you will have three options. The first option will be to earn a composite score of 5 for infant classrooms. So we said to earn the first teacher-child interaction badge, you have to earn a composite score of 3, which is that average. So if you want to, you know, if you decide that you want to earn your infant badge and you want to go the class route, you can earn a composite score of 5, which is a higher threshold. Now, again, that score of 5 is not going to be publicly displayed anywhere. Either you will you will have the badge or you won't. It will not, your individual score will not be represented anywhere. But when families, you know, log on, they'll be able to see if you've earned the badge or if you have not earned the badge. The same for the toddler and the same for the pre-K fundamental badges. You can earn a higher composite score of 3. So one of the questions that I got was, okay, when we get our first observation, let's say that we've earned the composite score of 3 on the class. What does that mean? That means you've earned that badge. Now, we will do a check-in after a year. We will probably send a coach in just to do like an informal observation, just to make sure that you're still meeting, you know, most of the components. We will not do another formal class observation, but we will give you that infant badge when we roll it out if you go ahead and earn that composite score in year 1. Same for toddlers and same for pre-K. So that's one option that you have. You can go the class option if you want to. The second option, and here in just a few minutes, I'm going to ask y'all to give me some feedback on what you think this might look like, is outside of what the class observation tool does. What we're proposing is that if you don't want to go the class route, we're proposing that you provide evidence of quality in 4 key areas: professional development, the learning environment itself, best practice and health and safety, and social emotional support is the fourth one. And what we're really kind of thinking is, I don't know if any of you have taken the child development associate credential, but as part of that process, you create a portfolio, and it's different documentation of learning. It's photos, it's examples of lesson planning. You know, you can use short videos. There's examples of like art activities, process-oriented art activities that you do with children, family testimonials, etc. So what we would propose is we would put together a template for each of these age groups, and we would help you build this portfolio of this evidence in these 4 areas. And the idea there is not only are you putting together evidence that shows that you have a high quality program, but we're also helping you build something that you can use to market your program. It's kind of the idea there. So we're not just doing something that's busy work, so to speak. You can actually use it in other areas. So like the professional development, that would be you working with a coach to create a professional development plan for all of your staff. You would work with them. And then I'm gonna ask you all to give me some feedback on what you think some opportunities to show evidence of a high quality learning environment, best practice health and safety, and social emotional support might look like. The third option would be a hybrid. So you could earn a badge in these different areas using a combination of your class scores and a corresponding evidence of quality. So what we've done is we've done a crosswalk with the class, and we talked with the folks that actually wrote the class tool, that created the class tool, and they have identified specific dimensions that correspond with these 4 areas. So within these 4 areas, you may hit the mark with the class for a certain dimension, And then you could use the evidence of quality for the others. And I'm going to show you what that looks like here in just a minute. But it would be a combination of the two. So you can either go the class route, you can go the alternate evidence of quality route, or you can do a combination of each. So for example, if you wanted to earn your infant badge and you wanted to use the hybrid path, so you don't want to just go with the class scores, you don't want to just go with the alternate evidence of quality, you want to do a hybrid model. So what you would do is you would work with a coach to complete your professional development plan, which would be sitting down with the coach and mapping out the courses and the different areas that you would need your staff to do to build up their knowledge and their skill set. Then for the learning environment, you could do one of two things. You could either earn a score of 5 in the facilitated exploration, which is one of the dimensions of class, or you could complete the requirements in the learning environment evidence of quality portfolio. So you could either earn the higher. So let's say that when we do your class assessment, you've earned a score of 5 in the facilitated exploration. Well, you've already met that requirement. Let's say you earn a score of a 3, which is good enough for the composite score, but isn't quite high enough for the learning environment component of this. Then maybe you want to work on your portfolio in this area. So best practice health and safety / wellness. You could earn a score of 5 in the relational climate dimension of class, or you could do the portfolio option for best practice health and safety, that alternate evidence of quality. And then 4, for social emotional support, you could either earn a 5 in the teacher sensitivity dimension, which is one of the dimensions of class, or you could complete the social emotional component of your portfolio. And you can do a combination of these, the class scores and your portfolio, to earn this badge. Okay, so I'm going to stop there and just see if there's a few other questions. Let's see. So there's a question about school age programs. And then let's say it says like, so what are the 3 domains again? So there are different domains for each areas of the class. And that's what, if you'll take that primer course, that goes more into that, into the class specifically. I don't really have time to get into that. So you overall as a center or overall for each teacher. So your overall, I'm assuming that is when we talk about the overall score, you're talking about for the first badge, that's for your center. That's not for individual classrooms. So for that first badge, it would be your average score for your entire program. Yeah, and thanks Farah. Thanks for I see your answer there now. Question, we're an after school and summer camp program. We care for ages 5 to 12. How we participate in this program? I'm going to get into that in just a few minutes. Class does not have school age specific. Well, it does, but it's for like a kindergarten, first grade, or second, third grade classroom, like in public school, not for childcare. So we've looked at developing a set of criteria outside of class, which focuses on the Mississippi Director's Credential Program. Some of you may be familiar with that. It's been around since the 90s, and it has criteria for school age programs, but I'm going to talk more about that in just a few minutes. Okay. If a center doesn't have a good experience with an assigned coach, will it be possible for the center to request another coach? Yes. If a center feels that a coach is just not a good fit, if they feel that the coach is not being responsive or being respectful, we will definitely look into that situation and potentially assign a different coach. Again, it can't just be, well, I don't like her, she looked at me funny. So, I mean, there would have to be some real evidence that the coach is not performing up to standards. Yeah, where do we go for the primer course? So yeah, Farah is right. The email, I guess, did come out on September 6th. So check your email on September 6th. If you can't find it, if you'll send an email to that CC Notices email, we'll get you the link to the primer course.
Chad, this is Laura Sewell. I like the idea of having options. I think you may have hit on something with that to give us that. I think many providers may be able to get together and even work on how to meet those options. So I thank you for that.
Thanks, Ms. Sewell. I appreciate it. And you know, listen, as we're getting into this with these options, if there's some other things that come up, some other suggestions, we are open to those suggestions. I do want to continue to hear from y'all. If this seems reasonable, if there's something else that we haven't thought of. There's no way in the world that we have thought of everything. And that's why we're coming to y'all to give us an opportunity to weigh in also. So I appreciate that feedback, and you know, please continue to give feedback on what you like, what you maybe don't like, what we could maybe rethink. So thank you.
So this is hey, this is Sharon Johnson with Classic Kid. So are you saying that we can get together with other providers and try to get a portfolio together, like branch out with some ideas to get it together?
So with the portfolio, I mean, yes, I think I think having that open to collaborate with other, you know, with each other, I think is a great idea. We would, for the purposes of this, we would probably need to provide everyone with a template just to make sure that you're including everything that you need to include. But absolutely, you know, collaboration, I think is a big important part of quality. Listen, y'all are the experts, and I highly encourage you all to work with each other on sharing ideas, on making your programs better. I think that's a fantastic idea.
Right. Well, they always say you put more than one heads together, that means we can come together and accomplish something, right?
Yes, ma'am. You're absolutely right. Two heads are better than one, I think. And yeah, I love that idea. Okay.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, let's see. There's a question about the 6-month suspension. Is it too late to consider fewer months? Potentially, I would, you know, potentially, we could consider fewer months. I'm open to some potential suggestions, but there has to be an incentive for centers to do what they need to do as well. So, you know, 6 months, I mean, you know, a month suspension is not going to be enough time for that center to regroup and try again. And again, you know, I feel like a score of a 3 with all the necessary supports, and we will give you supports. But we also have to take into consideration everything that we're doing for programs, and then whether or not the program is doing their part. And if we get to the point that a program fails to meet the score for their second try, and we do temporarily suspend them from the program, you do have the option to appeal that. You will have that option.
Real quick, Chad. So this 6-month suspension from the certificate, so that means families who are in your center that's receiving that certificate will have to find other care.
Correct. That's right.
Okay.
That's correct.
Can I say something? This is
Yes,
Sid Harvey.
yes, ma'am.
I understand the suspension, but the parents are going to be paying the price because there's no way I have a waiting list here. I'm sure most of y'all do. So why should the parents have to suffer for our inability to get where we need to be at that time?
So we will give parents time to find alternate care before we just completely remove the certificates. We'll give them a period of time. We'll also have folks that will help them find alternate care. The thing, I think the better question here is, if a program is not able to meet this composite score of 3, is this indeed the best situation for these families? I do believe that most childcare providers out there do a really great job of serving their families, but I do know that there are some programs out there that are not doing right by their children. And as someone that has actually seen children die because of negligence, because of teacher negligence, I have seen this on videos. I've seen, I have seen abuse. I have seen neglect. I feel like it is also our responsibility, not just mine, but it is our responsibility as a collective community to hold each other accountable. Because when we fail to do our jobs, children, bad stuff happens.
I
And I
know.
have seen the worst possible things happen. So in this case, we can't afford not to hold each other accountable for the things that we're doing. And I don't really necessarily feel it. I don't necessarily feel that we would be punishing families. We're not going to leave our families out in the cold, so to speak. We're going to
Okay.
provide them all the support we can to find them other care. And I see the other comments about the 6-month suspension. I'm certainly open to other time.
Okay, could I add
I
something?
think, I'm sorry. I
No.
was just going to say that, surely it can be corrected before 6 months, anything that's been done. I was involved with the, Itters and, that y'all Eckarts years ago. So I'm familiar with some of this and I'm sure it's falls along the same line. Never did make the high score, but I did make the passing score. So that gives me a little hope. I just, we don't know what y'all are expecting. We don't know how y'all will be grading. We don't know exactly when you come in, what are you looking for?
Well, and Ms. Harvey, that's why you need, I do suggest if y'all can take the class primer, do that.
Mhm.
Take advantage of the coaching, because our coaches will come in and they'll work with you specifically on what the indicators are that we're looking for.
Uh-huh.
And when you enroll, if you opt in for the technical assistance, we will make sure that you get all of that support before we do the assessment. And we'll make sure that the coach and the director both feel that the program is in a good place. Yeah.
Okay, Chad, I have a question. I would like to ask a question.
Hi, okay, so I saw, Regina, I think you're the one that was about to ask the question.
Okay, I'm
Go ahead.
sorry. Someone else is
No, you're
speaking.
Yes, go ahead.
Hi, this is Regina. Yes.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, so I guess my concern is with the coaches coming in, and they're providing the training and things that we're needing. I guess my high school incentive ending, I've lost some pretty good staff because, most staff are at minimum wage. So I guess it comes down to the people, if they're being coachable, and if I'm bringing them in at 725, maybe they're not interested in the training. And that's what I'm seeing, that incentive, I'm seeing a lack of performance. And that's what I'm concerned about.
So Regina, you're cutting in and out. I think ultimately what you were saying is, like, it comes down to whether or not teachers are also engaged in the process, and there being a lack of interest in them being engaged in the process, and that contributing to.
Yes, sir. That is what I'm asking, because since the incentive has ended, I have had to completely restaff.
1, 2, 3. I got 1, 2, 3 bruises today.
And I think, when we're looking at turnover and everything, but I think that's also why it's important that the technical assistants, the folks that are coming in, the coaches that are coming in, being respectful of your teachers and being, trying to help teachers see this as something that's positive. The thing is, with early childhood, we have got to stop kicking the can with who's responsible for elevating quality in this program. I've worked in this field for a long time, and I've seen other people that have also worked in this field for a long time. And I'm not talking about people on my side. I used to be a preschool teacher. I myself was rated under the Itters and Eckers system. It was not fun. It was a difficult process. I've been a director as part of that also, but And I understand that there are still issues plaguing this industry, high turnover being one of them. And that's something else that I think we're all struggling to try to find ways to address. I think part of the problem is people don't value childcare. And we've got to start holding ourselves accountable for what we do. And we have to stop making excuses. And I know that sounds harsh, and I'm not saying that you're making excuses at all. But what I'm saying is when, we say, look, we need more pay for these teachers, we have to give a reason for why these teachers deserve higher pay. And I'm hoping that this process, we're trying to take out as much of the negativity at making programs better as we possibly can. But the fact of the matter is, anytime you try to make something better, it's a matter of resolving conflict. When I stepped into childcare licensing a few years ago, and then when I stepped into this program a few years ago, there was a lot of conflict. There were people that pushed against us doing better, that pushed against us meeting you all's needs. Guess what? That's their prerogative, but doesn't mean that they have a place here. So we have to, it's a fine line, and y'all, I know I don't want to get preachy, and I do have to move on so we can get through, so I can get y'all done by 2:00. But I think part of this whole process is helping teachers transform the way they see themselves. And I know that's not easy to do, and I know it's a multi-pronged approach. This quality system model is not going to solve all the problems of early childhood. All it's going to do is help y'all address some potential quality areas, but do so in a way that brings y'all to the table. That's, one of the questions that I got before was, how is this system different than Quality Stars? Well, first of all, we're building this program with y'all's input. Secondly, as at each stage of this, whether it's the coach coming in, whether it's the assessor, and you can ask my folks, I have preached to them that when they go into y'all's programs, they will be respectful. They will be respectful of your perspective. They will be respectful of your teachers. They're not going to go in with a "I know better than you" attitude. They're going to come in with an attitude of true collaboration. They're going to get your input, but that also means that everybody has to put their best foot forward. My folks have to do that. Y'all's folks have to do that. But y'all, this is the only way that we're really going to start seeing some change in early childhood education. Is we've got to try to start looking at these problems and try to figure out ways that we can troubleshoot it that's doable. So I think this is just kind of a first step. And there are other things that we're working on to try to secure more funding for early childhood education. But y'all know that's not a battle that I can fight myself, or that that I can fight. Y'all need to be calling your legislators. You need to be telling your parents to call your legislators. Let's talk about how important childcare is to make sure that these parents have safe places for their children to go, not only to be cared for, but also to learn. So I hear you, and I know that's part of the process, but there's things that we're going to do to address that, but there's definitely more that needs to be done.
Chad.
Mhm.
Yeah, my name is Jeanette Kirk.
Mhm.
I just want to say something kind of regards what you was talking about, providing a safe place for childcare for children. So I've been in business now for 44 years, and this program, I'm listening to it very intensely, and I feel like too that it's not. One thing about childcare is, and it doesn't matter. It's all about the heart of the teachers. And if you really want to be there as a child care provider or caregiver, whatever we want to name that. But in this type of program, it kind of, bothers me a little bit that, because of a score, I may have to shut my center down, because if we fail to meet that criteria, which I don't think we would, but I'm just saying if we do. And all these families who are being served would have to be dismissed from our center, because they can no longer attend there, because we no longer have the program to serve those families. So I guess that type of thing kind of bothers me just a little bit, and I understand why we might. I hope that you all can look at the months on that just in case, but I do understand that safety and care of the children is our utmost importance, and so have been in business this long. We have to understand that training of our employees is so important, because once they really get that this is a business, they really get it is a business and understand the regulations of childcare and mostly understand the care of the children. Number one, out of everything we do each day, then I think overall childcare can get a whole new face, and the face of childcare will be changed by the way we childcare providers treat childcare in our state. And because when people look at childcare, it looks negative sometimes. It has a dark light shine on it pretty much all the time on TV or where we see it. But we're the ones that really can change the face of what childcare look like. Rules are important, and we know that, and we've got to follow them. But doing things in the community to make our center shine, and that is by the work that we do. I'm very comfortable with the program that we use. We've been very successful with it over the years. Our children are successful when they go to school, and that's what's been important to me as a child care provider. I know my years in child care is winding down, but I'm saying that child care is so important. But the light that people see every day on the centers, about the work that we do, we have to put in directors that we have to really instill in our employees, that coming in to be a part of our family. I'm sorry I'm taking a lot of time, but anyway, I just wanted to say that because of, and regardless of some of the things you just said about the safety of our children, I see it every day, but we have to really be on our toes when we come in to be with our children and to serve them. But anyway, that's all I have to say about that. Thank you.
Chad, this is Dolores Sewell again. I think we have to look at something that you said about every child don't learn the same way. Well, this is the same about centers. And if we're going to have alternatives, I think if someone can't meet the goals, then they need to be offered alternatives before they just have to discontinue the program for 6 months. And if you see the effort there to try, then I think you can kind of weigh whether or not there's something different that needs to be done. And that will give you feedback as to whether or not the way it's being done is what you want to continue with, because this is something new. So please look at the fact that some of us have gone to school, some of us have not. And many times, even as children, we can get through to one child one way, but we can't get through to another one. So you're going to have to look at that too when you're dealing with the centers, because everybody just don't have the background to pick it up as easy as maybe I or you. Some may not have gotten into the business just to be an educator. They may have just gotten into it to do services of keeping children. If that's what they're doing, maybe there's an alternative or something that they can be taught to provide training, through play. Because everybody can read, but everybody don't comprehend.
And I think that also goes along with, as we move through this process, the engagement with the coaches that come in. I think having an opportunity to hear from them, if they feel like the staff in the program are really working as hard as they can, I think we would be all open to to more options. I think that's fair. And on the same end of that, or on the other end of that, if coaches are like, look, we're in there, we're trying to help these teachers, they're not wanting to meet us halfway, well, then that's a different situation, right? So I think I do agree. I think that it comes down to what are the intentions of the staff in the program, the director of the program, because we have some directors that want to do everything that's right by their kids, and then we have some that don't care. The ones that do want to do right by their children and their by families, I want to do everything I can to help support those programs. Now, those that are doing the bare minimum and do the most to do the least, and I think y'all know what I'm talking about, those are programs that we can't continue to invest time and effort in. We need to be, and I think programs like that also harm the rest of the industry. They give you all a bad name.
Absolutely.
They cut costs, they cut costs, they do the least, they pirate parents from y'all's programs, and those are problems. you know, those are problems. And this is not a system for that type of program. This is a system
Hey,
for programs that want to do what's best for their kids. Okay.
Chad,
Yes, ma'am.
um, this is Carolyn James from Perfected Prey Child Care Center. I have a question concerning the date that you gave us. The September 30th, 2025 is the deadline for us to try to get the first badge. But my question is, how soon can we get, if a center need or desire a coach to come in to coach them to make them better so that they can receive the badge? How soon can that coach come in to do that?
Y'all can start getting coaching now.
Okay.
Y'all can get folks to come out now that will come start working with you. And I think there was another question about signing up for coaching. There's a link. I think I don't know if it's on LiftEd or where you can request coaching and TA. I know I've got some of my coaches on here. Can any of y'all weigh in on that, on how somebody can get linked up with one of y'all? Y'all can come off mute if you need to.
Chad, is your email in the chat?
It is not.
I have.
They can let us.
I would not
They can
suggest you all email me to try to get your coach because I will not have time to do that. But
Well, no, I have a question. And this, I'm sorry, it don't have anything to do with this matter, but I'm glad you are the host of this meeting. Well, I had a family of 6, which one of my students had a really bad situation going on. I became a foster parent. I did write a letter to you guys.
So, Ms. Williams, I can't address, I really don't want to get into individual situations. If you got a situation about a family, email, you can email Angela Crockett, or you can email the CC Payments email. And
I did months ago.
Okay. Well,
Thank you.
if you'll shoot an email to Angela Crockett, she's my deputy director. She's over that program. And you can copy me if you want, if you would like to copy me as well. My email address is the same as hers, just chad.allgood@mdhs.ms.gov. And we'll be glad to look into that. Okay, y'all, I do need to move forward because we're getting close to the half hour before we're supposed to be done. I'm gonna try to look through if there's any questions before I get into this next part. Let's see. There was a question about the class primer. So there was an email that went out on September 6th from the CC Notices email. If you'll go back and look at your email, if you can't find it, you can send an email to the CC Notices email about the primer, or you can call our call center. How much time will there be between the first and second observation? I'm assuming if you're talking about if you don't pass or meet the composite score for the first one, there's not really a set time frame. There will be technical assistance that's offered, and then at the point that the coach just says, hey, they're ready for their second observation, we will do that. So there will be incentives with the fundamental badges that I'm talking that we're doing. I'm going to get to that in just in a few minutes. How long will the TA be before the observation? We will give centers up to 90 hours of TA, of 90 hours of classroom TA before the observation. You don't have to have a full 90 hours if you don't need it, but you will get up to 90 hours of TA. Is this being recorded? It is being recorded. And it will be posted on the information session link on our webpage. Let's see, is it possible for Department of Health to verify us when they license for some of the areas that are visible? I'm not certain if you're talking about verifying when they license. The QSS Elevate process is outside of licensing, or it's in addition to licensing. I probably need a little bit more information about that question. Is the intention of this meeting to be informative or for community feedback? It's for feedback. It's for both, providing information and then to get feedback from you all as well. What are the qualifications of coaches and evaluators? So all of the coaches and evaluators are going to be certified on the class for each age group before they do the coaching and the observations. Evaluations should be reciprocated. Will directors be able to evaluate coaches and trainers? They will be able to evaluate the process, yes, and give feedback on how well the process is going. Let's see. The 30 hours of TA is if the center does not meet the first observation score requirement. It's 90 hours if the center opts in, and then the center can receive an additional 30 if they don't pass or if they don't meet that first observation. Let's see. Is there a formal score sheet to determine how much pre-coaching you need? So when you sign up for the program, if you do opt in for TA, there will be just kind of like a quick evaluation that's done with the score. And I say evaluation, it's really just a needs assessment kind of thing that will determine what areas of the program may need more help than others. Are the coaches truly qualified in class? They are going through the full certification process. There's nothing really more that we can do other than get them fully certified and keep them certified. Let's see. Okay, and then there's been some links in there. I appreciate y'all Madison, thanks for putting information about MECIC in there. Let's see. The class, we will be opening up registration for class observations shortly. Okay, so going back to the year two rollout, I had talked about these 4 areas of these alternate areas of quality. So I would like some more feedback from you all about what the elements of the portfolio might look like. How can we show proof of each of these things? So again, we've been considering this online portfolio type thing, which shows the evidence of quality. So I'd just kind of like to hear from you all if you have some initial ideas about like specifically with the learning environment, how we can show evidence of a high quality learning environment, whether it's photos, it's of the room itself, short videos, whatever. The same for best practice, health and safety, wellness, and social emotional support. So do y'all have ideas about how we might capture evidence in these 4 areas?
So Mr. Argood, I think,
Sorry.
I think one good idea for the environment, you could take pictures of your environment and share those. Then you can also take pictures of the children's work and the activities that you're doing in the classroom. You can include those in your environments as well as a good, if you're doing the star rating and you're testing and all of those things, those would be evidence of things that you're doing inside of your classroom. So there are many, many ways that we could do that. And given a little time, we should be able to come up with those many ways.
Yeah, we do lesson plans. So our lesson plans could meet all of these different areas.
Yeah, I was gonna add that to lesson plans and also with scenarios. You know, we could add that in part with their social emotional support. Because I know it would be hard to just actually unless we did a video. So we could do something as far as writing a scenario where if Johnny was doing this or something was happening, how could we respond as a teacher to that situation? That would be something as well we could include.
Just talk to them quietly. So please talk to them quietly. Just go over there and talk to them quietly. Just go over and you could also get some input from the parents as well, Mr. Argood. Yeah, some feedback from some of your parents. Could be from your parent evaluations, and those kinds of things could be the evidence as well.
Chad, this is Dolores again. We actually send videos to parents of things that we're doing to let them see exactly what's going on and what teaching and interaction is going on in the classroom, and they seem to love it.
I'm writing all these down. That's why I'm looking down. So I'm just making notes.
Chad, this is Patrina Dace. The professional development, enhancing skills and knowledge, Most of us have already gotten curriculums and we do lesson plans. So right there, there's a check off. If you have that learning environment, the health department comes in, they already see how we got everything set up. If the health department doesn't see that on the initial visits and stuff, when they come in to license us every year, I would think that they wouldn't even check off on us. So right there, you have a creative, conducive space for education. So if they don't see that, the health department shouldn't license us at that point. Now that's just my opinion.
Well, but
And health and safety would be the same thing. So let's see check off that we could get from the health department.
The health department looks at each center differently. Like my playground is fully loaded with equipment and fall zones, but there might be someone up the street from me that doesn't have any fall zones. So I think there's a wide range with the health department of minimal.
But that's why they would not check off. They would check off according to what you have. But they already come in and they see this stuff and they will give us points according to what we already have. If they come in my center, I don't have tables, chairs, learning centers, then they don't check off on that. But they already see this stuff. If they have playground equipment, they give us an extra check. But you don't really have to have playground equipment to be a successful childcare center. Now, that's what they say. But of course, my center has the whole 9 yards.
Yeah, mine too.
That's the point. So some of that stuff could be done on our initial checkoffs or on our yearly checkoffs with the health department.
With the portfolios, will they be electronic or will they be like a paper print portfolio? Like, do you have a system or an app that you're going to use for the portfolios?
So we're open to suggestions. We have a portal that could potentially give y'all like that would allow you to upload stuff digitally for our coaches to look at, which would be helpful because then it means coaches don't have to come out to your centers every time. You could just upload stuff to the portal. But I think it's also, we would want to create, even if we're allowing you to upload stuff to like a portal to be reviewed, we would want to give you the option of creating something physical, I think, that you could keep. You know, the idea here is also something that might be even, dare I say it, fun for your teachers to do. You know, kind of like a scrapbook or, you know, whatever, something that could really get them engaged and get them excited about the things they're doing in their classroom. So I think it would probably be a combination of both. We would have some ways for you to upload stuff digitally, but then also have physical, you know, like a paper copy as well.
Yeah, that would be my suggestion, would be a digital, like some sort of digital process where you could even put like what you're kind of requiring in each of those sub departments, like, you know, an example of, and then, you know, it kind of gives us a little more of what we know you're looking for when we are doing a portfolio.
Sure.
Yeah, then you have staff that more visual or hands-on, learning better hands-on. Because I ran into that issue with some staff. You got some that rather even do like the daily reports on paper and then go back and put in a computer, or they get so busy with the children where they can't go chart on electronically.
And I think being mindful, you know, like of programs that where internet connections may not be as strong, I think that's something else that we would, you know, take into consideration as well. So that's some really good. Go ahead.
One question, I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
How long are the evaluations when they come in? Is it for a day for each class? Or do you have a specific time limit? I haven't done the class, you know, yet, but I'm just going through some of the information that I'm looking at. Are the evaluations, is it, you know, kind of like what we did with the quality stars? You know, we had someone come in for like a month with a particular class and they observed, but they also gave suggestions, helped out to you know, get the classroom. How will the evaluators come in and how long will those evaluations be? I'm just, because I don't have any of the information for it right in front of me.
Sure. So when you're looking at the class, it is not scored like Itters and Eckers was scored. Itters and Eckers, I remember when I was scored as a teacher, I had an evaluator with me basically the entire day. and that was for a couple of days. It's not like that. Class is designed to be scored in what they call cycles. And it's, I think, 20-minute cycles. I think it's a 20-minute cycle each time. And so what happens is the evaluator or the assessor will come into go into a classroom. They'll observe for 20 minutes and they'll be taking some notes. Then they leave and they do their scoring right then while what they've seen is still fresh in their mind. And they do that, and we're going between 3 and 4 cycles. I'm still trying to determine whether or not we're going to go with 3 or go with 4. I've gotten some conflicting information with what the kind of the standard is for making sure that we're using the tool to fidelity. Some states say 3 is accurate or enough, some say 4. But at the most, a classroom would receive up to somewhere either 3 or 4 cycles, 3 or 4 20-minute cycles. So you're essentially saying, okay, if we go with 3 cycles, so that would be 3 20-minute cycles with a break in between each of the cycles. So you're talking about collectively 60 minutes. If we go with 4 cycles, it would be collectively 80 minutes of observation in the classroom with breaks in between for scoring. But it will not be someone in there all day.
So, Mr. Algood, my experience with classes has been 20-minute cycles, 2 20-minute cycles, where you go out and you break and then you average those scores together. Is that not what is?
No, the folks at Teachstone have said at least 3 to 4, and that's where it will be at least 3.
Does it include outdoor time or no?
It can. It depends on what the time frame is of like when the assessor's there. But the assessors are not going to interrupt your schedule for the sake of scoring. So if they're there during a scoring cycle and you're taking the children outside, the thing with class is, I mean, interactions should happen everywhere, anywhere that the children are, whether you're inside, whether you're outside. So the area, I mean, that they're in, whether it's an indoor or outdoor thing, won't really matter. I saw a question about if my teaching style is different from theirs, will that make mine wrong? The answer to that is no. Good teacher-child interaction is good teacher-child interaction. The class does not incorporate a specific curriculum. It's things like, is the teacher speaking to children in a tone that is appropriate? Is the teacher making positive contact with the children? Is the teacher engaged with the children? Because regardless of what curriculum you're using, whether you're using your own or if you're using a canned curriculum, there have to be elements of interaction to make that curriculum successful. Teacher-child interaction is the cornerstone for early childhood education, no matter what type of learning activities you're putting in place. You're welcome. Okay, is there incentive for receiving a badge that's higher than a 3? I'm going to answer that question in just a moment, but before I do that, do we have any other ideas for showing, if you've got any of these evidence areas? By the way, after we leave, after today, if you have an idea for one of the incentives and you want to share that, please feel free to do so. I am going to put my email in the chat. I ask that y'all not abuse this. If you've got questions about QSS or today's meeting, sure, but do not send me questions about specific childcare certificates until you've either talked to someone in my call center or someone on the eligibility team. Okay. I get hundreds of emails a day and I can't get to all of them. I do good just to get to the ones that I have now, without going insane. So, but anyway. Okay. Yes, I do agree about the picture taking videos. We would have to get, approval to use any videos that may have children or whatever. And we would have to be very careful about securing any of those photos or videos that are taken. Okay, so I'm going to move on really quickly to the early childhood inclusion badge. So the class would be used for the infant, toddler, and pre-K badges or preschool badges. The early childhood inclusion badge, so this is children that have special needs. We have the Mississippi Early Childhood Inclusion Center, and they will be the ones that will set forth the criteria for earning the children that have special needs badge. There are 4 steps to that. There's training, which the director and 50% of the staff would meet the professional development requirement to be endorsed or to be credentialed. Utilizing the inclusive classroom profile, teaching pyramid observation tool, or the teaching pyramid infant toddler scale. And y'all, I'm not an expert on these. My goal is, if y'all like the direction that we're going in, we're going to do another series of town halls in the spring that are going to go much more in depth about the portfolio, and then also about the inclusion badge and the school age badge. So this is just kind of just to give you an idea of the direction that we're going in. On-site mentoring, having benchmarks and quality practices established. These are the 4 pieces that would go into the early childhood inclusion badge. And then the school age fundamental badge, we would look at the criteria and the director's credential, Mississippi Director's Credential Program. But the elements that we're looking at is we want an environment that complements the school day but doesn't repeat it. So making sure that you're meeting those other needs of those school age kids, giving them opportunities, first of all, to have a snack, to have some recreation time, to maybe to get outside for a little bit, but then also have a classroom that's not just desks, that actually is a more comfortable environment for school agers. Also having things in the curriculum that have opportunities to develop competence outside of just doing homework, interacting with other kids, having programs and activities outside of just, like I said, completing homework, especially during the summer, making sure that during the summer that the program is doing things that really have enriching experiences for those school agers, field trips, learning opportunities, etc. And then making sure that professional development is being offered to teachers that focuses on what school agers need, and then incorporating all the needs of all the children in the program. So that's kind of the direction that we're going in. Any questions, thoughts about the inclusion or the school age? Again, that's just a general direction. We will give you much more information when we come together again after the first of the year. I'll give you a lot more information to weigh in on if y'all like these directions.
Will the school age fundamental badge be required to service school age children and get reimbursements for that?
It will
I
not.
saw something earlier where you had it separate. I just was checking to make sure.
So the only badge that will be required for you to participate in the subsidy program is the first one.
Okay.
Now, the question and where I was about to go, so this is a perfect segue into that, is what are the incentives for the fundamental badges? So what we would do with the fundamental badges is, again, if I have the funding for this, and I mean, it would be quality funding that would do this. At the point that a program decides they want to go for one of the fundamental badges, which is the next level, that's the infant, the toddler, the preschool, the school age, and the inclusion, we would do one of 2 things. We would either increase your subsidy rate for that age group. So like if you went for the infant badge, we would increase your infant subsidy rate. Or if you went for the school age badge, we would increase your school age subsidy rate. That would be one option. If you did not want to go that route, or if you didn't want the increase in subsidy, we're talking about setting whatever that amount would be, kind of like in a bank, and y'all would use that additional funding to purchase supplies for your programs. Those are the 2 options that we're looking at. So did that answer your question?
Yes, I think that's a good couple of good ideas. I just wanted to make sure, because I know, depending on the size of the students, how we set up our programs based on, enrollment at that time. Okay.
Sure. Nancy, you can actually send those ideas to me, the portfolio ideas. You can email those directly to me. If you don't have my email address, just shoot me a message in the chat. I did put it in the chat, but yeah, please send those to me. I'd love to see your ideas. Okay, I'm seeing some positive feedback about the school age badges. Good. Can you clarify about the observation durations? You said 3 to 4 20-minute observations with breaks. Is that for the whole age group or for the whole center? So that's per classroom. So each classroom would get between 3 and 4 cycles, 3 and 4 20-minute cycles per classroom.
I have a question, going back to the incentive that you said would be distributed, and you said it could go in a bank that could be used to possibly, buy things to upgrade your school. Will those purchases be limited, like we were limited with the last, monies that we received to upgrade classrooms?
When you say limited, what do you mean?
Well, when we logged onto the, I believe it was Lakeshore website, the resources that were available to us were limited, and mostly resources that, for me, that really I didn't need, and resources that I did need, I couldn't access. So I was just trying to see, would that be set up in the same manner, or
There
would
would
we
be
have
it
access?
would be things specific to that age category. So it would be learning materials specific to like an infant classroom, learning materials specific to a toddler classroom, etc. And I mean, we would have to work with a certain vendor that's a state approved vendor.
Right, I
Okay, I
understand
have
it
a
being.
question.
Go ahead and speak.
No, I was just gonna say I have a question. I'm just not sure, Chad, if you covered this part because I'm at the doctor's office, but I wanted to find out about the incentive that would particularly help children with autism because I have a lot of parents that are coming to me and they're being turned around by other centers that don't have any qualified staff. So I've hired 2 people that are qualified, but I'm that's with promising an increase, or maybe some type of set up a center or a couple of classes because I have to pay more for the qualified staff to actually work with those children.
So the same, if you do decide to go to earn the inclusion badge, we would also increase your subsidy rate for children that have special needs.
Okay, great. Okay, thank you.
And to go back to the question about the classroom materials, if you don't like the materials that are made available, you have the option of the subsidy route. So you can get the increase in your subsidy percentage and use the funding that we give you. I mean, because that's just money.
Okay, I thought it was one or, okay, I got you. I thought I didn't know we had the option to choose. Okay, that's fine. Thank you.
Mhm. There's a question about do all programs have to participate in this? The first badge, the observation, the teacher-child interaction badge, which is year 1, is the only one that's required. It is required to receive subsidy. If you do not receive subsidy, if you're not on the child care payment program, then this program is completely optional. The question about when we start observations and when we let us know you're coming. So we are working on getting the portal open for y'all to start registering for your first visit, or for your observation. Now, again, when you sign up, you will have the option of receiving technical assistance first, or you can opt out of technical assistance. The way it will work when you are ready for your observation is, like when we're going to schedule your actual observation, you will be contacted by someone from our office to schedule your observation visit. We will give you a 2-week period because once you say you're ready for the observation, then we're gonna schedule you for that observation. So we will contact you. We will give you a 2-week window. Within that 2 weeks, you can give us 3 blackout dates. So in that 2-week, 10-day business period, you can choose 3 days that you do not want us to come to your center. Okay. Any of those other 7 days in that 2-week period are up for grabs. We can show up at any point during that 2-week period. And y'all, I don't really know how to make that any more fair because we're giving you a specific window of time. We are giving you blackout dates where we will not show up. But there has to be some element that you're not, not that you're, so like when we come in, it's kind of like teaching to the test. It's kind of like, back when I was in elementary school and my teacher knew she was going to be evaluated by the principal, she would threaten or bribe us to be on our best behavior when the principal came in. So, you know, it's just an element of making sure that we are, you know, getting a good perspective on what you're doing day to day. The sample score sheet, again, if you'll take the class primer, it shows how the class is laid out, and I believe it does give an example of how things are scored. So I would suggest that you do take that. You can look, you can Google, you can just Google class and it will show you all the dimensions for the different age groups. There's some options there. There is, in fact, we're working with a Nurturing Homes initiative for in-home childcare, or what we call family childcare, that they will be assessed using the class as well. Okay. With those 2 weeks and you say you're ready, if a regular teacher calls out, if we show up, then we show up. And again, the classrooms are scheduled at random. That's a chance that we take. If you have more than one classroom per age group, no, we will not tell you which classroom we're going to observe. All classrooms will receive TA, but since we're only doing 50% of the classrooms, the classroom that will be actually observed with the class during your visit is chosen at random. There will be a phone number for you to call if something happens, you know, if you know your center has to shut down or whatever, we'll give you all that information when we call to schedule the visits. Is there a list of what identifies as special need? So a child that has special needs is just a child that typically has an established IFSP or an IEP in place. They're a child that needs special accommodations, but there's not really a list per se of what that encompasses, and it's usually on a case-by-case basis.
Chad, had that rule changed? Because in the manual, it previously said that they would have to be receiving SSI for disability, and so if you do get
So Miss Sewell, we're gonna be changing that policy.
Okay.
We're gonna be changing that policy. It's still SSI right now, but that's something Angela and I have both wanted to change in our policy manual. So we're working on that.
Thank you so much, because we have too many children with it now. Okay, bye-bye.
Okay, really quickly, because we are coming up on 5 minutes before we wrap up. I appreciate all the questions and the feedback. I think it's been a very good meeting. I did want to kind of give you all just a preview of what the badges would for year 1 and year 2 might look like. So if you look here in the top left corner, that's the educational interaction badge. That's the one that every program, if you're on the subsidy program and want to continue to be on the subsidy program, that's the one that you will earn first. The remaining badges, the infant program, toddler program, preschool program, the 2 after school programs, one's after school, one's summer, and then the inclusion program. Those are the ones that are that we would roll out with year 2. And so this is just to kind of give you all an idea of what these look like. We wanted them to be eye-catching and colorful, but we also wanted to be there to be a level of sophistication with the way they look. And the idea would be when a parent pulls up your center profile on the search page, there's a blank space right now over to the side. So we would put those in that space. And then when a parent would hover over one of those badges, a description of what that badge means would pop up on their screen. And then we would also like to give y'all some things you can do at your center. We're talking about maybe window clings, signs, something that you could use to really display these badges as well. And I'm open to suggestions about what that might look like also.
I have a quick question. So how often would these badges have to be renewed?
2 years, every 2 years.
Okay.
So you would keep them for a 2-year period. Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Okay, with that being said, we're running on just a few more minutes before 2 o'clock. So are there any other final questions for me?
Chad,
I have a quick question. I would like to share this presentation with the rest of my staff. Will a recorded, I guess, version be released?
We are recording this, and there will be a link that will be posted on our website. Yes.
Okay,
On the
thank you.
session. Yes. We're not, we probably will not send out the training email again. Go back and look in your email at September 6th. I'm assuming you're talking about the class primer for leaders. If you can't find it, if you will send an email to CC notices at, I'll put it in the chat. If you cannot find the email with the primer link, if you'll send an email to, oops, I'm sorry, Ms. Shaw, I sent that to just you because that still had, you sent it to the whole group.
I put it back in there.
Okay, perfect. Thank you so much. Thank you. So if you can't find the email with the training, then just you can send an email to that email address and we will resend you the link. Are the incentives for the center or teachers also? Right now, these are center-based incentives, but we are trying to figure out some ways that we can also provide incentives for the teachers.
So one other quick question. You said that this, because we're receiving federal funds, that part of the requirement is to include some type of quality assurance program. And so I know you all are trying to really cater this towards Mississippi, the uniqueness, and then be inclusive, which I think is good. But are there any other requirements that have been mandated for the program besides just the quality, incentive, the quality program that you all are trying to implement?
So you have the first step is, of course, to be licensed. You have to be licensed through the Department of Health. That's the first step. And then you do have to take, there is a health and safety training that is required for all your staff. And then this will be the final step. At the point that we roll out the application for QSS, yes, you will have to earn that first badge, or you will have to at least sign up to earn that first badge. You won't have to earn it. At the point that you say you're going to go after that first educational interaction badge, we will go ahead and start issuing you subsidy payments. But you have a year from that point to actually earn the badge to continue to stay on the program. If you're an existing child care payment program participant, I'm giving you until September 30th of next year to earn the first badge.
Will the program, will it look different than what we're getting now, like through the website, how it's set up? Will it be different? Will we be looking at something different? You said that then when the incentives are sent out, is this going to be in addition to the funding that we're getting right now?
Correct. That will be in addition. Yes, ma'am. That will be in addition to your base subsidy payments.
Okay.
Yes.
All right.
It says, will after school and summer camp programs have to do the educational, infant, toddler, preschool? So if you're an after school or summer camp program, you will have to earn that first badge, and which we will use school age criteria only. We will not use the class. If you only have after schoolers, we're going to be using the director's credential. There is a checklist of things that you'll have to be meeting, and then there will be additional items for the fundamental badge when we get to that step. But to receive subsidy, yes, you will need to participate. Will there be additional incentives be available for each badge, or just one increase? There will just be the increase in subs. Right now, it's just the increase in subsidy or the classroom supplies. Those are the only things that we're really taking into account. The other thing you'll have to remember is I have a budget, and I have a finite budget that can only go so far. So I have to work within the constraints of that. But as of right now, what we're talking about doing is either getting a boost in that age group subsidy rate or funding for the school supplies. All right, y'all. We are at 2 o'clock. We're actually 1 minute over. So I want to get y'all out of here in a timely manner. So I do appreciate y'all showing up today. Like I said, we are recording this meeting and it will be posted on our website. It usually takes us a couple of days to get that done, so it may or may not be up by the end of this week, but it will more than likely be up by next week at the latest. So thanks everybody for showing up. I appreciate y'all very, very much. Y'all have a good rest of your day and a good rest of your week. Take care.